I've always been curious, especially when it comes to what you do, because you develop a very specific product that needs to comply with so many different aspects in order to be really engaging and appealing, not just obviously in the music making aspect, but obviously you need to do it very visually appealing as well. So I'm very curious how you mentally approach, I guess, the process of creating something, because I assume that you have very strict border lines in terms of what you need to create, but you always need to be creative within that specific space.
Yeah, I don't really think about it too much.
Yeah.
For me, because it kind of comes naturally. I feel like when I try to, if I sit down and said, I'm going to write this and it has to be this style and this, I feel like I don't do it correctly. I feel like it's too contrived. And for me, when something just happens naturally and comes out, that's sort of my favorite stuff. I don't like to force anything, because usually when I force it, it feels fake to me. But there are times when I write music, when I write a song or something, I can visualize it. When I'm writing it, I can visualize the audience singing it back to me. I try to put myself in the audience and go, if I was hearing this song for the first time, would I like it?
Yeah.
If this was my favorite band. So I try to write not only for myself, I try to write for that fan and the audience to go, well, this will be a cool part to do, or a chant or this, because I believe in those kind of choruses, and that's what we do. You know, it's not for all bands, but I grew up on arena rock and roll bands. Like Motley Crue was the very first concert I ever saw. I saw Dr. Feelgood when I was 11 years old. That was my first concert.
Wow.
And I realized I wanted to do this. And so that type of show energy, just that is what because I was in the audience then.
Yeah.
Now I'm on stage, and now I need to relate to that person in the audience. So I never forget that memory. So that's one thing I think about a lot, is I always think about how the song is going to be in a live setting. Some songs I know will never. Some songs I just write. It could be a horror movie song, and I'll go, maybe we'll play that live. Maybe it'll just be on the record. So it's just, I don't know. I kind of know what I do. I don't have to think about it too much. And there's been times in my career where my brain is just empty, and some people call writer's block, and you can't think of what to do. But lately, I can't wait to get home and start writing music again. I've already started writing music, but to go back and start it again for this is something I'm excited about.
Amazing. So, when you get struck with an idea, what comes first? Is it first the music aspect, or is it the horror element that you want to portray? Like, what comes first when designing those things?
It's never the same. Sometimes I can write a song in my head and write the whole thing in my head.
Yeah.
I mean, driving a car. I've wrote songs driving the car, and the windshield wipers are going, and I write a beat and I sing to it. Nice. I've did that before.
Nice.
Crazy enough. Yeah. Because I play guitar and I know how to write music, so I know I can write it in my head, so when I get home I can play it. Yes. Sometimes it doesn't sound exactly the same, but the idea is there. But it's different. Like every time it's different. Sometimes I have the music for months, no lyrics.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, what am I going to do? And I start getting bummed out. I'm like, wow, I'm never going to find lyrics. And then one day it just comes, and I'm like, So it's a struggle sometimes. It's not always easy. But I'm feeling creative these days. So I feel like right before this tour started, I wrote a bunch of new music, and I'm excited to go home and finish it and just keep writing. So I'll have a new Wednesday 13 album out in 2025.
Yes.
Which will be my 10th record, and my first solo album turns 20 next year.
Wow.
Which is crazy to think that I've been doing this long, and Murder Dolls gave me that opportunity to do this.
Yeah. Saying this, you've been in the industry and you've been doing music for such a long time. Retrospectively, how does that make you feel? Like when you look back at the music you've released and everything that you've been involved in, are there specific moments that you feel specifically proud about or excited about, or maybe some moments that you wish you would have done better or differently?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything I would change. I mean, there's obvious. Everyone would go, "Oh, I wish that didn't happen. Wish I didn't wreck my car or something."
Yeah.
But also these things that were maybe horrible things made me who I am. Like when I think back when I was a kid in school and I was getting picked on and bullied and beat up in school. It's a horrible time, but it made me who I am. So when I think back of things, I go, maybe that wasn't the best year for me, or maybe that wasn't my favorite record. Did I change this? I don't try to think like that. They're all eras of my life. My records to me, for some, like when you mentioned Skeletons earlier.
Yes.
For me, I love that record, but that record was my car accident. When I broke my collarbone, I almost killed myself in a car. I almost erased the whole record in the car accident because the only master was in the car.
Wow.
Everything else was destroyed except for me and the master.
Wow.
So it's sort of a weird story. You know? So when I think about that record, I like it, but I also remember the things going on around it. So I don't ever think too much about changing things. But I think the thing I'm most proud of is just survival, is surviving this. I mean, to know my first record, my first Wednesday 13 solo record is 20 years old next year. Murder Dolls is 22 this year.
Yeah.
But I was doing stuff 6 years before that.
Wow.
So I've been doing this. I started playing music, started playing in clubs when I was 15. I'm 47 now.
Wow.
I've been doing it over half of my life. And I've seen bands come and go. I've seen record companies come and go, magazines, people. And I'm still here doing it. And I'm still doing it consistently. I think I'm doing it better than I've ever done it since I started, because I've always tried to get better and learn and be a better frontman and be a better vocalist. And now I can look at my career and look at what I do, and I can kind of have a grasp on it. Before it was out of control, I didn't know, but now I can control my voice. Before I didn't know how to sing. I would ruin my voice. It's like to sing every single night on stage and not hurt your voice to doing what I do is something I feel like I just learned last month. But I think the thing I'm most important of is surviving, having a solid list of records that are good records. I never put out a bullshit record. I never did a record just for the sake of putting out music. It's always been from my heart, and I don't measure my success in awards or record sales or Spotify numbers or anything. It's meeting fans on this tour, going to different places, like playing here for the first time, and or playing the other night in Athens and meeting a few fans who were literally in tears because they've been listening to our music for 20 years. That's the reward, and just surviving this business. It's not, rock and roll is not tough, and the AC/DC song, one of my favorite AC/DC songs, is "A Long Way to the Top," and that song just rings true to me, and every time I hear that song, I'm like, it means something to me now.